back at it again. And if you were ever wondering, like myself, I will be the first to raise my hand. If you were ever wondering why Trump chose J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance over Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance over Byron Donalds, J.D. Vance even over a guy like Larry Elder, who I think would be absolutely fantastic, right? Well, then look no further than this video right here. Because like I said earlier, I'd be the first to admit I was wondering, and I said it on tape. Like, I'm just real. I don't get it why he chose J.D. Vance. Now, I said at the same time, I said I'm going to trust Trump in his decision making. And boy, when I tell you I was wrong, I'm sorry, Trump. I even questioned it, But yeah, I mean, one, and I will say this before we hop into it. After watching this, I have all the confidence in the world. I mean, like, there's not an ounce of doubt that Trump will choose the right people to put in his administration. Because J.D. Vance is a prime example of one of those folks where I was like, it's a little shaky. It's a little shaky. That's not the guy that I would have chose first, right? I would have chosen some of those other guys that I mentioned. Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy, Larry Elder. I would have chose one of them over J.D. Vance, but like I said, look no further than this video right here, because J.D. Vance went on CNN with Jake Tapper, and he absolutely, he cooked him. Cooked him. Y'all got to see this. With that being said, let's dive in.
But this is the thing, Jake. We've now spent 5 minutes talking about people in Donald Trump's staff
who think he's not fit for office.
He fired.
Who think he's not fit for office.
Oh, they didn't think he was unfit for office until they had a falling out with him because he fired them. And we're not talking about the public policy. Well, we're actually talk about how Americans can't afford groceries.
We're actually
Can we talk about the fact that Americans can't afford the cost of housing? Can we talk about the fact that a lot of people out there in Erie, Pennsylvania, they're the ones who suffer and die when people like Mark Esper and Mark Milley don't obey the commander-in-chief's orders.
We're talking about Donald Trump and what he says.
Yes.
And Donald Trump says...
And you'd much rather talk about what Donald Trump allegedly said than what Donald Trump did in office.
What
he did in office, Jake,
what he said publicly,
1.5%
he wants to use
inflation.
The military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake.
The enemy within?
He said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said
He said the enemy within.
He said far left lunatics. He's talking about people rioting
and Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election.
He said
Adam Schiff was rioting after the election.
You're using two separate phrases. He said about using the military that far left lunatics, people who riot in the wake of an election, people who burn down American cities in the summer of 2020, yes, we should have a federal law enforcement
This is what
response.
he said to Joe Rogan on Friday. The enemy within that he wants the military to go after.
No, this is
the enemy within, a bigger problem than Kim Jong-un.
The second part.
We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. That's who the enemy within.
And did he say that he wants to use the military against those people? Here's the game.
Use the military to go after the enemy within.
Here's the game that you're playing. He said
I'm not playing a game.
No. Can I answer the question, please? He said that he wanted to use the military to go after far left lunatics who were rioting, and he also called them the enemy within. He separately, in a totally different context, in a totally different conversation, said that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff were threats to this country.
Were the enemy with
exposed. So I think you guys can figure it out now, but what Jake Tapper is doing, he's using two completely separate conversations that Trump had, where he might have said similar things, the enemy within, and he's combining those two conversations and trying to make it seem as if it's just one big conglomerate, as if Trump said something that he actually didn't say. And J.D. Vance is absolutely exposing him on this, and I love it. This is the way, and this is how our Republican politicians should be. We take no BS. We're done with the crap. We're done with the propaganda, and we're going to call you out every single time you do it. But carry on, J.D. Vance. Carry on.
within.
never
We're the
said-
enemy within. He said they were the enemy
So
within.
every time he uses the exact same phrase, we assume that he uses
I don't
the
know. I don't
military?
throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the
Well,
military
you're a
against going American
journalist,
people.
and you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you that Donald Trump has said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to go after
Americans.
people who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was
We
what
should
John
call
Kelly
in the
was.
National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by: the idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's
not,
what he said.
Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep
Bro, he keeps trying to look.
on putting words in his mouth and my
Are they or
mouth.
are they not Americans?
Far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot. And
Now
I
you're
don't
doing
care.
a very narrow definition of
I
what he said,
don't-
which is
I
not what
don't
he said.
care.
That's not what he said. But let me
He
ask you.
did.
Let me ask you the bigger
He did
point.
say that, Jake. He did. He said that he wanted to use the U.S. military. Let me clarify.
Go after far left lunatics, yes. And then he
go
also
after
added
people who were rioting
he
and
asked-
looting.
And
he
added,
never said.
he added
he
Schiff,
never said.
and then he added the Pelosi's.
He never. He
and then
said
he added people that don't want the
that
country
Adam
to succeed.
Schiff, he said that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi he used in a separate context in a separate conversation. And what you're doing is you're smashing two
Fox
totally
asked him
different
about
conversations.
Fox asked him about this last week, and he didn't take issue with it. He said the enemy within is the biggest
But
threat
did
to
he
this
say
country.
the enemy within that he's going to use the military against Nancy Pelosi? Donald Trump offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard on January the 6th, and according to private emails,
boy.
she rejected it.
So let's talk about things that he wants to do that are feeding into this concern that people like John Kelly and General Mattis and General Milley have. He said on Friday, Special Counsel Jack Smith should get thrown out of the country. He's threatened to arrest election officials who cheated. We know that he believes a lot of people cheated that did not cheat. He
Yes,
wants
if
to
you
put.
violate the law, you should be arrested. Yes.
No one disagrees.
How about we talk about how Joe Biden said that Trump should be locked up in prison? How about we talk about the fact that Kamala said that we should basically get rid of freedom of speech? How about we talk about the fact that Tim Walz uttered the exact same words? We don't have freedom of speech. How about we talk about that? But of course, we aren't going to talk about any of that. We're just going to talk about just some random conversations that Trump had. Because Trump just be shooting the crap. I'm gonna keep it PG. I ain't gonna say the S word. But Trump just be yip yapping and jaw jacking sometimes, and some things come out. But how about we talk about when Kamala and Tim Walz seriously said that we should get rid of freedom of speech? Are we not going to address that? We're just going to skip over that? Interesting.
Disagrees with that, but he's talking
Apparently
about.
you do, based on the way you're asking the question.
Based on the fact that he's accused people that didn't break the law of breaking the law when it comes to the election. And if you want to revisit that, I'm happy to. But Liz Cheney, he said, should be put before a war tribunal. None of that sounds fascist to you at all?
No, of course it doesn't. Of
Putting
course
Liz
it
Cheney
doesn't.
before a military tribunal?
First of all, I don't buy into the premise of what you're saying, Jake, because
These are
I
things
just
he said.
on things that
These
I
are
know
things
that
he
he
said.
said, on things that I know that he said, you're imputing things, you're taking words out of context, you're taking two separate conversations and pretending
No, I'm
that they
not.
were made at the exact same
I'm
time.
not.
So I'm rejecting the premise of your question. I frankly don't believe what you're saying about Donald Trump's words. If you'd like to put up a clip and actually put him in context, I think the American people would realize that Donald Trump is a hell of a lot more reasonable than the people like Liz Cheney who would like to lie us into war. Now, Jake, we also have to remember, step back a little bit. Well, ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just
that's
said is
why.
false. We covered.
Really, Jake? False? He's lying? We got receipts.
Going Russian disinformation effort.
Russian disinformation.
It's a stunning turn of events. Do you think the president of the United States ever worked on behalf of the Russians against American interests?
Classic textbook Soviet-Russian tradecraft at work.
Seems like J.D. Vance was right to me, Jake Tapper. Good thing we have the internet, where, videos live on forever, no matter how much you try to bury them, because somebody downloaded it somewhere and saved it, and all it takes is just a couple of clicks to re-upload it back to the internet. And I rest my case.
Covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself.
Oh, and by the way, make no mistake about it, I've got other clips besides that. So if you guys want to see the others, I'm just trying to, make sure that we don't sit here for forever because, I got crazy amounts of clips. Y'all know. I always come with the clips, baby. I always come with the clips.
Network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win. And then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
nothing anonymously sourced,
or who one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you,
where five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
I didn't bring up any of the.
Boom. Boom. I mean, sizzling. Drops mic, leaves it smoldering on the stage. Okay? But, Jake Tapper said, I told you 10 people. I told you 10 people. Yeah, and they told us 50 intelligence agents said that the laptop was completely fake and it was Russian disinformation right before an election. Yeah, that's what you guys told us, Jake Tapper. 50. Not just 10. 50. High-ranking officials, people that we're supposed to believe. 50 folks said the laptop was fake. And you know what happened, Jake? It was actually real. So get out of here. 10 people. Yeah, 10 people that got fired. 10 people that don't like them because they couldn't control them. Yeah, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about it. A lot of these folks are folks like J.D. Vance said, are folks that got fired. And that found out that Trump is not a pushover. You can't tell him what to do and when to do it. He's not one of the yes-master people who you tell to jump and he asks how high. He's not doing it. You can tell him to jump. He gonna look at you like you're stupid because he ain't following your directions. Trump is gonna do what Trump wants to do. And they're mad about it. And also they're mad about the fact that they're about to all be losing some jobs. Just saying. Jake Tapper. Matter of fact, Jake, let me say a little something to Jake. Because, CNN used to be an okay network. How are those ratings looking now, Jake? Like, there's no way a little guy like me, right, little YouTube channel, should be able to even come, like, I shouldn't even be able to sniff your types of numbers. It's just me. I don't have like a big mega fancy cameraman or big mega fancy camera or fancy lighting with the crazy, nice studio. Y'all always talk about my background because my wall's messed up that I haven't painted. I don't have any of that. I don't have $1 million budget backing me. I'm not on national television. I don't have a marketing budget or marketing agency. Like none of that. Not a single bit of it. I shouldn't even be able to sniff your numbers, Jake Tapper. But the reason why I can is because of the BS you and everybody on your network continue to push. So, with that being said, Jake Tapper, carry on. Continue. Eventually, you'll lose your job, and people like me will take your place. Shout out to JD Vance, by the way. Peace and love. I'm out.